نريد لبنان ملتقى وفاق عربي.
Good afternoon. You're watching the English newscast here on Future Television. I'm Linda Tamim, and these are today's headlines. Maronite Patriarch Bashar al-Da'i meets with President Michel Aoun at Baghdad Palace and calls for the formation of a national unity government before Christmas. Public drivers stage another nationwide strike in protest of the proposed privatization of Lebanon's auto inspection centers. And U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov reportedly failed to make progress on a Syria truce in talks in Germany. Maronite Patriarch Bashar al-Da'i has called for the formation of a national unity government before Christmas. Da'i's comments came as he visited President Michel Aoun at Baghdad Palace and invited him to attend the Christmas ceremony in Kirki. Hopes are on the rise regarding the formation of a new cabinet, as MP Sleiman Frangieh predicted after meeting with Prime Minister-designate Saad Hariri that a new government will be formed before the holiday season. Frangieh, meanwhile, upheld his demand for a key ministerial portfolio. A blaze has erupted overnight at the Baghdad Palace Christmas cave caused by faulty electrical wiring. Baghdad Palace said in a statement that the fire reached the palace's hall, but civil defense firefighters were able to put it out. President Michel Aoun and First Lady Nadia lit the Christmas tree and cave at the palace on Tuesday night in the presence of family members, presidential staff, and media representatives. The fire only caused material damage. Lebanese commuters were stuck in traffic as public drivers staged another nationwide strike in protest of the proposed privatization of Lebanon's auto inspection centers, which would raise service fees. The unions and leagues of the land transportation headed by Bassam Tlace have organized several demonstrations across the country since October, and union members have repeatedly blocked the entrances to car inspection centers, demanding a new bid to run the centers. Security forces were heavily deployed on roads early this morning, reopening some closures and diverting traffic to inner routes. As public drivers gathered outside the Interior Ministry to block the entrances, Place vowed the protests will escalate if their demands are not met. Lebanese Forces Chief Samir Jaja has praised lawmakers' move to abolish a controversial penal code article that allows accused rapists to avoid conviction if they marry their victims. Jaja said in a tweet, quote, "It's a new point added to the LF's golden record as Elie Kairouz succeeded in proposing a draft law to scrap Article 522, end of quote. Parliament's Administration and Justice Committee had unanimously agreed to abolish Article 522 the day before, while discussing a draft law originally presented by LF MP Kairouz. Abolishing Article 522 has been the focus of various NGOs, particularly local women's rights organization Abad, which ran a media campaign against the law in the lead up to the committee meetings. Jaja also congratulated Abad on its fortified and successful campaign to press the endorsement of the decision. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov have reportedly failed to make progress on a Syria truce in talks in Germany earlier today. Kerry and Lavrov reportedly met twice on the margins of a foreign ministers' meeting of the 57-member Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Kerry, however, told Russian journalists that he remains hopeful and will continue to work for a solution. Coming up next, the death toll from a 6.5 magnitude earthquake in Indonesia province tops more than 100 people. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Greece's leading unions have launched a general strike that shut down several key sectors in protest over planned new pay cuts and taxes called for by international creditors. Civil servants, bank staff, merchants, seamen, railway workers and state-employed doctors were among professionals taking part in today's 24-hour stoppage against the measures, which are scheduled to be approved by politicians at the weekend. Passenger ships remained docked at ports, city transport was disrupted, and local administration offices shut down as workers joined the nationwide walkout called for by the country's largest private and public sector unions. Still in Europe, Matteo Renzi has bowed out as Italian Prime Minister, hinting strongly that he wants to lead his party into an early election battle. Political consultations on forming a caretaker government were due to begin early this evening after Renzi formally submitted his resignation to President Sergio Mattarella following a crushing referendum defeat. More in this report.
He said he'd stay until the budget was passed, and in the event he did. Just. Matteo Renzi announcing his resignation within minutes of this vote to approve the government's 2017 financial plan. Just a short while before that, observers got a sense of how rapidly Italian politics can change. After 63 governments since World War II, calls already loud for a new one.
The
Five Star Movement hopes that consultations due to start on January 24th will result in a new electoral law and we can go to elections right away. The Italian people need change and they need to go to the polls and finally have a say on policies.
Renzi is seen as the architect of his own downfall as Prime Minister, tying his future to a failed constitutional referendum amid a wave of populist backlash that led to Trump and Brexit. At 41, he could be young enough to engineer a comeback, something critics say the Italian economy can only dream of.
There is obviously now this political vacuum. The big concern, the big question mark, of course, does remain over the Italian banks. And obviously what the market really does want to avoid is the necessity for government intervention to bail these banks out.
But as the news of Renzi's departure emerged, that's exactly what looked like it was about to happen. The government reportedly readying itself to take a €2 billion controlling stake in the failing banker Monte dei Paschi, in a late bid to prevent one more casualty of the country's recent upheaval.
Investigators have begun digging into what caused flight PK661 to crash into the mountains of northern Pakistan on Wednesday, killing all 48 people on board. Pakistan International Airlines says one of the engines appears to have failed, but is ruling out human and technical error. Eve Johnson reports.
A search for answers after Pakistan's deadliest plane crash in 4 years. Investigators on Thursday picking through the wreckage of PK661, a day after it plowed into the hills north of its destination, Islamabad, killing everyone on board.
We found 46 bodies here last night. When local young people heard about the crash, they all came to help with the recovery.
Rescue workers are now sending the bodies back to grieving families waiting in the capital. Many of the remains burned beyond recognition. The plane's black box has been recovered, but so far there's no clear sign of what caused the tragedy. Pakistan International Airlines says the plane passed a safety check in October and doesn't believe the accident was caused by technical or human error.
Around 4 o'clock, the control tower received a message that an engine had failed. After a few minutes, the Mayday calls started. Then the plane disappeared from radar.
The flight crashed just 30 miles short of the runway. On board, popular pop singer turned evangelical Muslim cleric Junaid Jamshed, plus a team of engineers from Australia and China, and 2 infants. Pakistan's airline industry has a poor safety record. 6 years ago, a passenger plane crashed in heavy rain near Islamabad, killing all 152 people on board.
More catastrophes. A 6.5 magnitude earthquake in Indonesia's Aceh province has killed more than 100 people. The National Disaster Management Agency says more than 1,000 personnel, including military officers and volunteers, have been deployed to help in search and rescue operations. The search was expected to focus on a collapsed marketplace where at least 5 people were believed trapped under the rubble. A 14-day state of emergency has been declared in the province, which sits on the northern tip of Sumatra Island. The holiday spirit came early to Tinseltown with the premiere of Jennifer Aniston's latest comedy, Office Christmas Party. Aniston plays Conservative CEO Carol Vanstone, who is threatening to shut down her brother Clay's branch of the business. However, he plans to save his office by wooing an important client by inviting him to their Christmas party, where he pulls out all the stops. But the party soon gets out of hand. Here's the trailer.
It's Christmas. We should celebrate, they said. Just a little get-together for the employees. Have a few drinks. Blow off a little steam. Nothing crazy.
Merry Christmas, Jeremy. Great night, huh?
This is a sample cheese board for a holiday mixer tonight.
I'm sorry, you're having a Christmas party tonight? It's not happening.
All right, it's canceled.
Hey, idiot, I'm looking right at you.
I'm telling you, the thing is not happening at all.
I'm not messing with you. Hey, stop doing that, all right?
If you are going to have intercourse tonight, please do not do it on company property. Go into the Rite Aid parking lot.
We're talking Rite Aid, baby, make it all night. Fwin, fwin, fwin.
Oh, pardon me?
Hey, Santa, want a party?
I love this company.
I think he meant to swing there.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. Fair-night patriarch Sharadahi meets with President Michel Aoun at Baghdad Palace and calls for the formation of a national unity government before Christmas. Public drivers stage another nationwide strike in protest of the proposed privatization of Lebanon's auto inspection centers. And U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov reportedly failed to make progress on a Syria truce in talks in Germany. Those are your top stories for today. I'm Linda Tamim, and I thank you all for tuning in.
نريد لبنان ملتقى وفاق عربي